Hi, I'm Jason MP, and this is my wife Rachel MP. And I've been making and worked on no budget and independent films for over 20 years now, and it's been quite a roller coaster of a journey. I do have some advice and tips if people are wanting to go down that route, and mainly just do it, just make your film. But I do want to discuss some things to think about. So there is a good reason for wanting to do a no budget film, and if you want to create a piece of art, make your own film, or even if you want to be a DOP and editor and work on that level of the head of department, they can be good entries. Because if you're working in the big mainstream system, the Hollywood system, the studio system, it takes a long time to work your way up, and that's if you're lucky, right place, right time, meeting the right person, if you've got a bit of money to buy your way in. Controversial stuff, but if you're from a working class background particularly, and you don't have all the contacts and a foot in the door, it's really hard to get in with that crowd of people. And I do teach filmmaking as well, and I was having a discussion with a student recently about this, about where they were going with it. And you got to be careful that you don't get an opportunity but you're stuck there. So if you want to be a cinematographer, a DOP, director of photography, for instance, if you start working in the camera department and you end up getting a clapper job as or a first AC, assistant camera job, sometimes you can get stuck there for a long time and not build to get to that head of department. Whereas a no budget film, there's more chance that you can get on that, DOP it, and have a show reel, something for your CV, because there's little people involved, people wearing double, triple, quadruple hats of roles and things in production. So it's like a big team effort. But it is also a lot harder financially as well.
Yes.
The less you spend, the better, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, spend less, make more potentially. And also when you have all of your friends, colleagues, or collaborators come on board, if you're all sort of working to a very tight budget, and then you can maybe do it more for the passion and the fun side of it and really enjoy it, have more creative control and flexibility that you might not have in more mainstream jobs or, those kind of career paths.
So beg, borrow, and steal is the key here. Friends and family. So I made a film called Homemade, which this is the official released version of it. This was shot in 2008, so this is quite old now. We're in 2025, so this is a 17-year-old film. But location-wise, I did a lot of guerrilla filmmaking. Ask for forgiveness after you've done it. So film without permits and just outside locations. But then when I got interiors, it was friends and family that I was using and getting permission from them. Also to the point being a one-man band. So this particular film, I was the director, the producer, the writer, the cinematographer, the editor, and I was actually the main lead in this. You may wonder how I did that. It came to a point where there was an interrogation scene in a police holding cell that I was in, my character Jack Hess, and it got to the point where I didn't need to, but I wanted to get it done, and I could rely on myself. I'm more of a behind the scenes person, but I put myself in this film because I could rely on myself and trust myself. Because there's crazy things like one of my main actors from this halfway through filming shaved all his hair off, which caused the problem because
Continuity.
yeah, he was on the way one day and he messaged going, "Oh, I've had a haircut. Does it matter?" So I had to frame the shot so I couldn't see his hairline and crazy stuff like that. But getting back to so again, that's partly why I cast myself, because in the scene of the interrogation, I mic'd myself up, I lit the shot, I set the camera up, had the monitor, flipped the monitor around, put myself in it, and I was the only person in the house doing it. I completely...
One-man band.
Yeah, literally a one-man band. And it was quite hard, and it was a little bit sad, really, thinking, is it come to this? But in a way, I had complete control, which, going back to the studio system, you would never be able to just completely go off on your own and do that. There'd always be someone putting their piece in or discussing or ideas. So if you want complete control, that might be good or bad thing, but but it is something to think about. Like if you really want to express yourself and make your own personal project, then yeah, that is a reason for no budget cinema. Another example of this is a box set. This is my first ever release. So there's 6 features on here. My one is Sick Bastard. This was the first film that I had officially released on DVD, and it was made for £200. Now, £100 of that.
CDSOV, crazy indie film.
CD.
Well, it's a bit grungy.
But to be honest, the £100 of that was spent on the camera. So I was in a position where I had equipment, access to it, because I 9 till 5 freelance as a filmmaker in all kinds of video production and video creation. So I had access to that equipment, and that included at the time the Canon XL1S, which was the model up from the camera they shot 28 days later on. So at the time, it was a decent bit of kit, and you'd think, why wouldn't I shoot it on that? But no, I wanted to make it look like a shot on video homage to the real SOV stuff, which is hard to replicate and edit however much you try. So the best way to get that look is to just do it. Mm-hmm. So I actually went on eBay and got an old SVHS camera, had to get a new battery for it, refurbish it all, and got the SVHS stock. Now, all that actually at half my budget. So really, this film could have been made a lot less if it wasn't for that self-indulgentness I was going down. But it worked. I got the result I wanted. And again, there's no way, if I had a producer and a production company breathing down my neck, they would not have let me do that. They probably would have spoke me out of it. And you know, I'm glad I did it. Would I do it again now? I don't know, because
yes, he would.
Well, I wanted to go full analog, and this was back in 2006. This one, and even then, I was like, that was a hard slug, but it paid off. But I do want to just bring up about releases is that I made Vipco: The Untold Story, the documentary about the beloved Vipco label, which came out on the Spookies release, because I was able to get the rights for Spookies signed to be remastered through doing that. I bring this up because something to think about if you're entering the world of no budget filmmaking is, this was advice given to me from distributors, and it has worked. Special interest features like documentaries actually sell better and are easier to get released than
interest pieces.
Yeah, than an actual feature like this. Mm-hmm. The documentary on its own was a better, more rewarding sound distribution than a whole feature like that. Mm-hmm. And it is something to think about, because if you do want to get your film out there and possibly make a bit of money back to put into future productions, doing the special interest documentary route is recommended. There is more of a market for it because you're not competing with the bigger films.
The oversaturated market of everyone and their iPhone or Android.
But what I've spoke about, I do want to highlight regarding equipment that I was talking about, that this day and age, most people have a smartphone, an Android or an iPhone. I'm more iPhone.
Android, 100%.
But they have the capability of filming, even editing if you want, and then uploading and distributing onto the web. If you really want to go the full route, that's a real no budgeter. But you can shoot on your phone, and I know again this can be taboo to some people, but I myself in recent years entered a 72-hour filmmaking competition to do I ended up making a feature of a long day shoot with all what I've said. We used people we knew that we'd built up in the filmmaking community, some friends from filmmaking, tight-knit group, and it was really fun, which is what it should be about, really. And we got a rewarding film that was released.
Well, it was good planning beforehand, because it was a very, very small window of time. So you planned all the shots from top to bottom. I was running around like a headless chicken, making sure everyone was where they were supposed to be, because we had mothers with kids and babysitters and things. So I was driving all over the place, making sure everyone got fed, making sure everyone knew what they were doing, so that you could concentrate on just filming it and just going for it. And then we managed to do, how long was it? Over an hour?
It was an hour and 3 minutes. It was a feature film.
And we shot that in 20 hours?
A good solid long day. So time there, what I want to bring in there is time. So I have worked on a TV commercial where we spent a few days filming for what essentially was a 30-second piece. With no budget film, you don't have that luxury. So we had to pump that feature out. It sounds mad, but obviously you want to ask people for help, as I've said, friends and family, but you are limited on how much time you can have them for nothing, especially a location. So hence why I shot that how I did. But you're right, planning is key, because I'd gone round to all the rooms, pre-lit them the night before, I'd really worked out what I needed so we could go in there and do it. So planning is a very good idea.
Yes.
But also the fact that I entered that as a competition. Look out for film competitions that are cheap
Especially
or
free
free.
ones.
Yeah, free or cheap, and little festivals, because
they're fun, they're experience, and you never know, you might make some friends on the way with the other competitors and things.
and that gave me the kick up the backside that particular time to go and make that film, which then actually did go on to get physical media and digital media releases, which then brings me to distribution, which
the fun side.
So as I've highlighted on some of the stuff I brought up, less is more with budget. The fact that I only spent £200 on Sick Bastard allowed the film to make its money back. It wasn't easy. It's no easy task. Please have realistic expectations and don't think you're going to be rich off of making a no-budget film.
Think long-term revenues, maybe, you know, a couple £100 a year back, or a couple £1,000 if you're really lucky. But think long-term, not in the you're never going to make an amazing film and then get offered 20 grand for it. That's very unlikely, especially with indie films. So do it on a penny budget. And then maybe if you do make a couple £100 or £1,000 over a year, then that's a huge profit for you. And you can put that straight into your next project.
And without sounding tight, like, the less you spend,
the more you make,
the more you're going to make back, especially if you want to put it into other projects.
But I would say I would do it for the passion, the fun, the friendships, the community, not just for, if you're looking for a quick way to get rich, this isn't it. It's not going to happen.
No, so realistic expectations of, there's not a lot of money in it, but it is good to build your showreel and CV. You got to be careful you don't overdo it. I do want to highlight a dark side, actually. With all that being said, be careful who you work with, because the film and creative industries attract a lot of mad people.
A lot of very high energy, very creative,
larger than life characters.
Yes.
But because it's creativity, there can be clashes of creative differences.
So have patience with people as well.
And other people have different experiences, but the film world in general, the big film world, is very egotistical. That's no different for no budget. There is a lot of ego-driven maniacs in that as well, and
everybody wants their little spotlight, I think.
If you get a good team and you've got friends and family, amazing. It could work, but just be cautious of who you work with, because it only takes one bad apple to be poison in that environment for the project to fall apart.
And not just that, it takes the fun out of it as well. If you've got one or two people that maybe, they're getting a bit silly, then it sucks all the fun out of it.
But as I've said, like I did on this, you can always just make a film yourself. I have students that aren't always a fan of being in front of camera, and I've also taught them to use objects to tell the film. And they did something amazing recently. They literally had pencils, and they had made a T-shirt with USA, and they had pencils were going around on a green screen, put in New York City behind them. There's like this person going through New York. Creative, and I was actually blown away. It's incredible to do things like that, because there's always a way. Try and think outside the box is what, like
Dogville.
Yeah.
A great example of acting overpowering the backdrop.
Lars von Trier's Epic, which again, if you've not seen, I do recommend as a film recommendation.
Because very good film.
For no budgets, and although it's Lars and they had a budget, it's a good example of thinking outside the box and how you can maybe make something work with no budget yourself. So key things: shoot on your phone if you haven't got access to the equipment. Try and spend little money. So literally, you haven't got to make yourself in financial difficulty. You can do it on your own. If you've got friends and family to help, great. But don't even let that stop you if you really don't have many people around. And try to finish your film. It's very hard to start or get distracted or get stressed out. Try and see it through. It's really rewarding to see your film made and get out there. I know it can be hard, but it is such a shame and disheartening if you let it fall into disarray. Do try and see it through. And regarding distribution, as always, realistic expectations, you're not going to make a lot of money. There are distributors out there. A lot of independent distributors for no budget films aren't great. They may get your film out a bit, but again, you're not going to be rich, but you might get a good reputation or an opportunity because you've got a name and you've got credit.
And don't always put all your eggs in one big basket thinking you're going to make an amazing one big hit film. If you make 10 short films or 10 smaller, cheaper feature films, that's 10 films you can get out there and make some revenue back from if you really wanted to.
Yeah, but
Potentially.
on sets, when I've worked with people, if I've been a DOP brought in, I have worked with some first-time filmmakers or people that always think, and everyone thinks this, they're going to make a film, they've not got a lot, but they're going to scrape this film together, and it's going to be great, and it's going to change their world. I hate to be a dick, but I do have to try and bring people down that probably ain't going to be. We can get the film made, we can probably get it released, but, you know, just have that. Don't get disheartened. Don't get yourself so psyched up that you're
going.
really
Keep
distraught.
pushing.
And with realistic expectations also becomes, I'm a perfectionist and I try to be.
Don't be a perfectionist.
And I get really like myself wound up. But realistically, you can't make everything perfect, especially if you've got no budget. So sometimes you've just got to know when to draw a line and to release it. Even big films screw up with mistakes all the time. I love watching movie mistakes on big films because if they've made such crap mistakes, then you know what
it makes you feel like, you know, potentially there. But less is more as well.
So try and have fun
Simpler
with it.
can often be better.
And I do want to point out one thing. I said about special interest films like documentaries. On the other scale, if you are making a normal film, an actual straight-laced feature film, sometimes think about maybe going over the top or doing something crazy content-wise, because what makes no budget cinema stand out against mainstream is stuff that if you go to the cinema, you watch a studio film, the no budget film contains stuff they wouldn't dare do or controversial stuff, or
don't be afraid to be a little bit controversial.
Be out there, be crazy, even if it's so ridiculous and crap that it's good, because that's the sort of selling point that
it gets people talking.
It'll make people want to see that rather than the mainstream. You're trying to compete. So if you are going down a film route and not doing documentary, just try and think, what can you offer that they can't? Drama is a hard one to do. From experience, drama is a hard sell with no budget, especially if there's no big names. The easiest genre that everyone falls into is horror. I know some people try not to, but horror will always get distribution most of the time. So if you do really want to get your film out there and do a no budget, do consider horror. A lot of big filmmakers started out doing that. It's, you know, it's something that they do. Above all else, make a film.